Hello and welcome to episode 320 of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Aroyyo. You can find me on Twitter at DynastyDadFF. It's Wednesday night, so you know what that means. It is mock draft time. Last night Snoog's on vacation. He's partying it up in Miami. Mr. Worldwide over there. He's all over the place. We're sitting here still trying to bring you guys content. We did the trade show last night with Dave Heilman from Dynasty Dorks. You guys got to check that out. Tonight we got a special guest and bringing back someone from a couple weeks ago. We have Calo jumping in here. Love it. Glad you're on here with us. Used to write for Fantrax and Roto Ballers. You're in the Discord now. Love chopping up things with you on Twitter. Welcome to the show.
Appreciate you having me, man. And obviously I've been in a couple of mocks with you guys and a couple of the Discord people, and this is some of the sharpest mocks that we do. And the fact that we get to hop in and get another mock draft from CBS this time, I just love it. And draft season is pretty much my favorite time of year, honestly. I just enjoy having my own process, enjoy seeing processes like your guys. So I'm excited.
Dude, look at the comments. Let's go.
Snoog.
Yo, Snoog, we're not sure if it's his girlfriend. Yeah, he's in the club in Miami. He's on South Beach, Coconut Grove. He's just like, let's talk mock drafts, and we'll make sure we do things right for you here. Sean Owen says, let's have a good draft here, boys. You can't do mock drafts in Smash Accept without the man, the myth, the legend himself, Scarface, Cody. We got the room in the Discord. It's called Mock Drafts with Scarface, and he sets these up on a daily basis. Love that you do that. Love that you set these up for Wednesdays. And this is just really evolved, right? It started as, hey, let's run with this idea. Let's set this up to you're getting guys literally being like, yo, can I get in this one? Like, I really got to get in the next one. And guys in the Discord are just chomping at the bit to draft.
Yeah, it's a blast. I got guys reaching out saying, hey, tomorrow night works for me. Can we get it set up for tomorrow night? And of course, let's make sure we get it set up for all our guys. We want to get more and more guys participating. We're going to be talking about that here as we kind of go through the draft about how to actually use this and have some strategy built in versus just having fun with it. We know it's a lot of fun. We love doing it, but how do we analyze our leagues and actually prepare so that draft day we're ready to smash? But I'm excited for another show. Appreciate you having me back on.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be great. So this particular mock draft, we're taking CBS's mock draft. Really awesome setup here. I mean, I'm going to quick go over the draft pick, going to go over the draft board. Al, I'm going to kick it over to you after we do that because I want to know your most shocking pick, like the pick here where you're like, dude, this one's a little bit wild to me, and then we'll start kind of going from there. So at 2, and I don't think he falls to 2, but in this particular mock draft, I mean, it almost seems like Tennessee's doing everything to get Cam Ward, but in this particular one, he falls to 2 at the Browns. Sheduer Sanders goes 3 to the Giants. They have not signed their quarterback yet. They're still talking Aaron Rodgers. They're talking a lot of different options, but I think Sheduer Sanders there at 3. Travis Hunter falls to 4, which I absolutely love in this particular format because then you almost feel like he has to be the wide receiver 1, right? Like they are not in a position. They went up and they beefed up the defense in New England. As soon as Mike Vrabel got in there, that's all he's cared about right now. The Raiders get Jeanty, and yes, I did say Jeanty at 6. That's going to be an awesome pick. Like that I love a lot. Tetairoa McMillan to the Panthers. He's back up in that top 8. Pick 13, Tyler Warren to the Dolphins. 18, Matthew Golden to the Seahawks. 21, Omarion Hampton to the Steelers. Oh man, I just put fire emoji next to that one. That one's got me pumped up. Colston Loveland, 22 to the Chargers. Emeka Egbuka to the Texans at 25. Al, what's the biggest one that sits out to you? Whether it's high value, low value, a little bit of a shocking. Like after I named those 10 guys, what's the biggest thing that sticks out to you?
I actually surprisingly really like all these spots. Don't love Warren to the Dolphins, but I think they need him NFL wise, so I don't mind the pick at all for them. But it's got to be Matthew Golden going top 20 now. In draft at this point early on in mock draft season, we saw like Luther Burden sprinkled in here, Egbuka up here. But now Golden getting so much steam that you have to think like NFL wise, it's almost as if the league is starting to think how like we think, where like he blew away the 40 and we're just like, all right, yeah, get this guy up there. Like he can run routes, he can do it all. But analytically, I know a lot of people don't love him. So to see him top 20 NFL now, it's just crazy to me. Also, the holes that have opened up for the Seahawks to like actually desperately need him is kind of huge. So seeing them address that, I wouldn't mind it at all. But that's definitely a top 20 pick is shocking to me now.
Yeah, they got a lot of needs, but I mean, this would definitely be very big for fantasy implications. During these mock drafts, when we really start to look at them, it's like, oh, damn, like are they trying to play fantasy football here? Because all 10 of these, I'm like, these guys are falling to the right spot. Cody, real quick, I got to pick your brain because you know, every mock draft we've had you on and that you jump in, really big on talking about these tight ends here. We have Tyler Warren going to the Dolphins where they already have Jonnu Smith. And then we talk about Colston Loveland in this one going to the Chargers. Does that close the gap even more? Like, I know you've talked a lot about it in the Discord, the gap between Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren. If these are the landing spots, this just got a lot closer for me.
Yeah, 100%. If these are the landing spots, it's Tyler Warren to the Dolphins and then Colston Loveland to the Chargers, then these guys, to me, they got to be almost be back-to-back picks. Like the chances of Warren being, you know, we talked about him maybe going 104, 105 in the right place, you know, especially that 0.75 tight end premium or, you know, start 2, you know, shooting up there. But if he's dropping to the Dolphins and having to sit behind, you know, Jonnu, you know, we're not going to see a lot of year one production there. So as far as Loveland, I like his upside. He had a really good measurements at the combine. So if you're in your draft and Warren's going early and then Colston, he's just dropping. I think you got to get up there and get there. So I think with the picks, they got to be very close together, especially if he's going to play with Justin Herbert with that wide receiver room where you got Ladd kind of taking that PPR spot, but, you know, a ton of opportunity for him to get in there right away and start and have a big rookie year.
Yeah, the Chargers didn't really address the wide receiver in free agency. I mean, they still could bring Keenan Allen back, which I would love to see.
Right.
When we started doing these mock drafts about a month ago, the gap between Warren at 104 and 105 to Colston Loveland at 112, 201 was arguably a first. Now I feel like you're right. It's dropped a little bit. It's gotten a little bit closer, you know, and we're going to talk about a lot of these different draft spots, landing spots. Without further ado, why don't you kick it off? We'll get the draft board up there. We'll let our guys. And again, you know, if you guys are doing this, what we do is we end up drafting with the guys in the Discord. You know, we put it in there. We got 10 other guys in there. If you guys want to join it's the fastest growing Discord in Dynasty. It's patreon.com/smash accept. That is just our shell. It collects the payment. Then we'll send you a link to the Discord. There is no better time. I hated daylight savings time. Like I literally woke up and I'm like, what day is this? What time is this? I felt like it was so far behind. And I'm like, there's got to be something good out of it. And the best thing out of it is 15 guys since then have signed up for the Smash Accept Patreon using code SPRING50 to get yourself 50% off that first month. Al, I know you joined in the past month. Tell me a little bit about, like, to me, the coolest part about it is the community, right? You get the content from other guys, but it almost fills that void of like wanting to talk shop 24/7.
Oh, it's crazy, man. I can't believe the notifications that I have in the middle of the night. Like these dudes in there, they don't sleep. It's awesome. And, you know, I mean, I hopped in just to like, you know, chop it up with you guys like I do on Twitter enough. And I'm like, let me just support these guys, be able to talk to them in the Discord. I know that they're doing great stuff over there. So I happened to check out the work that you guys have been pushing out. But then I just realized that it's just a hive in there and everybody gets along. Everyone bounces trades. These are just trading nonstop. It's insane. And I know you talk about it on your trade shows and stuff, how many you get. And just from that one poll, it's just 50 polls in a day. And I'm like, this is crazy. And it just makes me love trading even more. It gives me that itch. So, you know, you always got something going on in there.
Yeah, Wednesday night's date night. So I went on a date several hours ago. I got 92 DMs since then. You guys just don't stop with the trades. So I got to answer a bunch of questions. So let's jump into this mock. So the first one, Ashton Jeanty. Cody, I'm going to turn this whole thing over to you and let you roll with it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, so our guy S. Owens, he's a really good guy. He's been in the Discord. He's always, like you're talking, like, you know, Kayla's talking about being in the Discord with tons of chats and all that. He's super active, great guy from the Discord. Actually did a startup with Snoog and I recently, so really fun guy. He actually started it off. He took Jeanty here as the 101, which is very, very typical. But with the landing spot, Dad, here in this draft that we're using, he goes to the Raiders. So what do you think about that? Does that really make a big difference towards his overall value and the impact he can have?
Yeah, I love this because I mean they add caps to the right guard position. They don't sign a single free agent, so they're running with Sincere McCormick. You know, I think Zamir White might be back. You know, I think this is a opportunity for him to actually to see Ashton Jeanty at 6 join that same elite tier that we have of Jahmyr Gibbs, of Bijan Robinson, of Saquon Barkley, of guys that are drafted inside the top 6 picks. And I think he is going to absolutely smash. You look at a really solid offensive line. They get Geno Smith at quarterback, so you have a stopgap quarterback for a year or two who's going to involve him in the passing game like he has with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. I mean, I love this landing spot. I think Geno Smith has really made this an even better spot for me, thinking that Jeanty now is firmly at that RB3. But in redraft, I could see him finish top 5 to 8 very easily with this landing spot. Like, I absolutely love him here. And that's, I mean, Al, I don't know if you could get a better spot. I mean, I think the Bears is the dream spot for everybody. I actually prefer the Raiders over the Cowboys, which a lot of people are really trying to push into that spot. There's no spot for me where I move him above the big dogs. I can't move him above Gibbs and Bijan. But is there a spot in that early first round where you would be like, okay, I could see him moving down a little bit in his draft stock?
No.
Yeah, I know. It's a simple one, right? Yeah.
I just think like the way the board falls this year for this running back class is just almost perfect, where the spots that need running back, and I know every year we have prospects that get nuked by spots that we just don't think need a running back. But with him and like his draft range and the part of the board where he's falling, I just think he can't really go to a bad spot unless it's like an unheard of terrible selection. Like even the one that sent the world in arms last year, like the Michael Penix deal, like you're even that cross position, but you still had an aging player. So no matter what, he's at worst going to be with like an aging running back. So honestly, nothing can really move him off my RB3 in Dynasty spot.
Yeah,
unless he like falls out of the first round.
You could tell when you had the casuals coming out there, like, Dad, he's never taken a snap. Dad, what if he goes this? Let's be honest. There are like 5 spots that he wouldn't be the clear-cut RB1. There's like 2 that he wouldn't be clear-cut. Then there's 3 where it would be a committee. And then the rest of the NFL, he's better than all of them. So the next pick is super awesome. You can unpause it there. So we can, I'll throw it. You guys know I love picking second. It's Omarion Hampton to the Steelers here. Juiced up version of Najee Harris. You know, like they do not have their quarterback yet, but I think this is a spot where you're going to see him absolutely dominate. The Steelers have always wanted, that 3-down bell cow. Najee Harris is gone. He goes to the Chargers. I think he's a bit of a sell right now because of the contract. Everybody thought it was 9.25, but it's actually a $5.25 million contract with some incentives. That's neither here nor there. We're talking about Omarion Hampton, instant day 1 starter. Cody, if he goes to the Steelers in round 1, he's my dynasty RB6. The only guys that I'd prefer are Jeanty, Saquon, Bijan, Gibbs, and A-Chain. I'm moving him that high. Like I'm moving him over Bucky. I'm moving over JT. I'm just saying we are seeing a true 3-down back with elite upside. Why don't you take over here? Because our third pick's already in. So we'll let that one go over to Al.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the one thing I do want to add about Hampton at that landing spot, if Najee's getting 1,000 yards 4 straight years, he's just going to get fed. It's going to be carry after carry after carry. Mike Tomlin's going to keep it coming. So, yeah, definitely 102 right there. Great pick. Moving along here, another great guy from the Discord, AJ. He's actually in one of my start-offs from last year as well. He's been a long-time Patreon member with you guys. It's a really good guy. He's going Henderson here. So looking back at our draft spot, we're going to pass this over to you, Caleb. Henderson was not in round 1. So we're thinking he's probably going to be round 2, round 3. But what do you think about this pick?
I think he's my RB2 in this class. So for fantasy and for dynasty. So I love that pick. And as long as he goes top end of round 2 to one of the spots that isn't going to prioritize running back in round 1, then I think this is the range where you'll see him go. That's why I always say and talk about this class that 2 or 3 to about the 106, the 107 is super interchangeable for me. So I love that trade back in round 1. And, I know a lot of people want to get up and get their guy, especially if someone lands with the Cowboys or something like that. So just with like the skill set in this class, I love moving down.
Yeah, I love that. Before we get to that 4 or 5 spot here, Thomas Fowl says trade the 104 and 105 for Justin Jefferson. In this particular draft, that is giving up Travis Hunter and Tetairoa McMillan for Justin Jefferson. You know what that means. That's a cowbell, baby. You know that's coming. That is cashing in on rookie fever, and I love that. I mean, it's not all about when you have picks. Everybody gets excited about that. Once you pick 104, you already eliminate some of your guys in your league of who's excited for that pick. Once you have 105, it's totally different. Connor said, would you guys take the 102 and Rashee Rice for the 101? Have really good wide receivers, but need a running back bad. I'm getting the right side. I mean, I'm not. As much as I'm shopping, I'm waiting till we see the landing spots because there's a real chance here, guys, that Jeanty goes 6 to the Raiders, but then we don't get the landing spots we want. Like Hampton, Henderson. If we saw Henderson to the Chiefs, he's the 102. We see there's a lot of great landing spots, but let's say they decide to pass and those elite level running backs go to spots that we don't like, and then we start seeing the Tutens and the guys like that fall into those spots. Now, all of a sudden, the gap between 101 and 102 is huge. I think the Steelers gap here, I would take Rashee Rice and Omarion Hampton with the Steelers. But if that's not it, a lot can change. The value of the 101 can still go up, and the gap is still there. Go ahead, Cody. We're at 104.
Yeah, 104. Calo just made a good pick here, and I haven't seen this a whole lot. So you gotta kind of tell us why you went Travis Hunter here with pick 4 to the Patriots.
Yeah, I grabbed the 4th pick specifically with this in mind when I saw these landing spots. I think this is one of the only scenarios where I'll definitely put Travis Hunter as my wide receiver 1. I believe you'd get that clarity based on the Patriots landing spot because they've not addressed the position, which is pretty much, I know they have 1,000 holes, but obviously we see that this is their biggest hole, and they went out and paid Carlton Davis as one of almost their first moves. So with Christian Gonzalez on one side and Carlton Davis, I know for sure they're not spending the number 4 overall pick in the NFL draft on their 3rd corner. So they're absolutely going to play him at wide receiver, even 80%. So if I have a pick like this, I'm smashing him at the 104.
That's my, as I'm watching all the free agent moves, right? And I'm watching them load up on that defense. And I alluded to it in the intro. Travis Hunter's the wide receiver 1 if he goes to the Patriots. He will be the wide receiver 1 for the Patriots. He will be the wide receiver 1 in the class because he's the most talented wide receiver in this class. The only reason that he's been going 108 to 111 is because people are like, well, I think he could play 50-50. But if he goes to the Patriots, with the amount of money that they're throwing around on that defensive side of the ball, they are going to draft him to be a wide receiver. I love that pick, Al. And then Tetairoa McMillan there at 5. We see him back to the Panthers. So that's always a nice spot where if he goes that 8, now we're talking about 2 really nice wide receivers with top 12 upside that really have an opportunity to thrive as the wide receiver 1 on their team and become a top 12 dynasty wide receiver. Both of those guys have that shot. Back to you, Cody, with number 6.
Yeah, right there at 6, we got Cam Ward. So this was the Davey O'Brien Award winner last year, the nation's top quarterback. And he's looking at, if I'm looking back at this draft, he's going to Cleveland Browns. So we're not talking about Russ. We're not talking about Deshaun Watson or Kenny Pickett or any of those guys. It's going to be Cam Ward. So what do you like there? This was let me look back here. Yeah, this was Rosa, who's one of the newer guys. This is his first time joining us. But tell me about Cam Ward. How do you like that landing spot to Cleveland?
See, I think Cam Ward, he's the clear-cut quarterback 1 in this class. I think the landing spot in Cleveland for him versus the landing spot of Sheduer Sanders in New York actually brings them closer together. Like right now, I have a pretty big gap between Cam Ward and Sheduer Sanders. I really don't want Cam Ward going to Tennessee or Cleveland, but he's gonna, and that really upsets me a little bit because I think he has top 12 dynasty quarterback upside. But this particular draft, I'm not sold on the Browns as an organization. They did a horrible job with Deshaun Watson. In my opinion, they did a horrible job with Jameis Winston, where they were just, pulling him back and forth. They go and they trade for Kenny Pickett. That's not going to do anything, So I think Cam Ward goes to a bad landing spot, but decent weapons around him, with Judy and Njoku. But I don't like this at all for Cam Ward. I really hope somebody trades up. I really want to see Cam Ward with the Giants, because then I'm excited for him throwing to Malik Neighbors. I would love that. The next pick is my man Deion's Raw. Always super excited when he's jumping in on these, because he dominates them. And I know you're kind of in the host chair, but this is your guy, Tyler Warren at 1.7. I mean, in our typical, when we do these drafts, they're all super flex. They're all 0.25 PPC. They're all 0.75 tight end premium. Is this where you believe Tyler Warren belongs to go in this format?
Yeah, I think it's a good spot. I mean, if his measurements at the combine were not quite as good as we wanted, he was a little shorter. I think his arm length was not quite as long as we wanted. But if you're getting him at 107, this is a guy that we just talked about a couple weeks ago being the 104, the 105 if he gets the right landing spot. In this particular draft, he goes to Miami. We kind of touched on it a little bit already, but again, not the guaranteed starter right away there. He's going to maybe have to wait a year or two, kind of like Ben Sinnott, in Washington. So, you hate that. At 107, though, it's not bad value, especially in 0.75, which is what we do here in the Smash Leagues. But all in all, that's a good prospect. This is a guy that could be a tight end one at some point, if Bowers ever falls off. But this guy has high upside.
Yeah, and at that 8 spot here, and I mean, I really like Emeka Egbuka to the Texans. Al, I mean, you see him. Tank Dell's gone. Stephon Diggs is gone. Now, I mean, they lost some offensive line, which really bothers me for CJ Stroud stock. But then you get him a security blanket who's arguably, in my opinion, the most pro-ready wide receiver in this class. Do you like this Egbuka pick here to the Texans? And what does that do for his stock?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been targeting this landing spot before they decided to deplete their offensive line, but I expect him to work that short area and intermediate area anyway. And that's where I think CJ Stroud is just an elite for football. And, I think a lot of people see CJ Stroud as just like a pocket guy, but he manipulates the hell out of the pocket. So I think they're kind of putting him in a bad spot, but I do think he can handle it when it comes to still supporting his pass catchers. So I actually think he's one of the better compliments to Nico Collins. So I love that spot no matter what. And there's really obviously no chance they go into it with this offensive line. So
yeah, the next pick here, and this is literally you're just Cody, this is the latest that you've drafted in any of our mock drafts. You're making Snoog proud. Let's talk real quick here. I want to hear what you got to say about Quinshon Judkins. And Andres Rosa, I love this. He said, happy for the feedback, Dad. I was between him and Judkins. Don't love the Browns, but he's the clear-cut starter. I love when guys join the Discord and then jump on the live stream. They watch it. It's like a family of you guys. You guys are in there talking shop all the time. And then they come in here and everybody's watching it live. I mean, right now we're only 20 minutes in and there are over 1,000 people watching. I know the entire Discord is watching. You guys are coming out in droves just to hear what Cody has to say about Quinshon Judkins. So sell us. This seems like a steal here at that pick.
Yeah. So he did not go round 1 in this CBS draft. So I'm thinking, okay, does he go round 2? What is still available? Well, Chicago Bears is still available. If he hits round 2, they got an early round 2 pick. If he goes there to Chicago, this guy is not going to be there at 109. I was really debating Loveland with this pick. We kind of talked about this earlier. Warren and Loveland, they got to be closer now in our ranks. But again, look at the tier break. I've got Judkins in that same tier as, Hampton and Henderson. So if I'm able to get, the back end of that tier, that's 6 to 7 picks later. That's just too much value. You got to smash it. Even if, maybe you don't trust the talent, that's just too much value on a high level player that could end up in a really, really good spot, even if it is round 2. So that's something we need to be watching. Maybe it doesn't happen round 1 of the NFL draft, but that Friday, round 2, round 3 with the spot, I like that 109. And then how about this next pick, Calo? We got Sheduer Sanders. What do you think about that? I know there's a lot of back and forth on him and where he's going to go, but he went extremely high in this CBS draft.
If I can get the number 3 pick in the NFL draft at the 110, was it? Then I'm
Yep.
totally fine with that. And
In
like he already
Superflex? Yeah,
said, yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
that's
So
value.
I mean, and like I said, I mean, he is going to go to an ecosystem that is going to pass the ball, obviously with Malik Neighbors, and they do have Tyrone Tracy, but even Tyrone Tracy is a pass game threat more than like a let's just run him up the middle type. So I think even if they do address the running back position, which I do still expect him to get a running mate, I think they took Sheduer Sanders at 3 for a reason. They're not going to hold back.
Dude, he falls to arguably, I know Snoog doesn't like him, but this is literally the best value in the first round. I mean, I think you're getting a starting quarterback who has Geno Smith, Jared Goff type upside. You know what I mean? Like he's that's his range of outcomes. At the worst, at his floor, he's going to be Geno Smith. Good at escaping in the pocket. He has, decent, he has really good NFL IQ. He's going to extend plays, he's going to make things happen. At best, his ceiling is a Jared Goff type. I don't think he gets to that spot, but that's a good place in Dynasty. That's somewhere between QB 15 and 18, and you're getting him this late. I love that. We're moving into second round here pretty good, but you already mentioned on Colston Loveland. For me, Luther Burden is the wild card here at 112. I would not quite take him there yet. I think I would have definitely taken who Sean takes there at the 201, Kaleb Johnson at 201. That is stealing. Like he does not belong. He is closer to Treyveon Henderson than he is where he is right now, right? Like I think the combine running a 4.5, everybody's scared for no reason. Like he belongs at the top of your draft. And if you're going to get him right now consistently, it looks like Al, I would say somewhere between 1.8 to 201. I want to be in this zone so bad. Because if you look at that 1.8 to 201, that is a smash zone for me. Like it's a flat tier, but those guys all have extreme upside.
Yeah, that's just like how I said earlier that I would like to trade back because, especially when you see those landing spots at the top, people want to jump up and they're willing to give you draft capital next year and whatnot. And I think this is one of my favorite classes to do moves like that because I just love, as you can see, well, you just took him. So like this range right here, I love. Like even I think it extends to like the 206, honestly, in my opinion. And I just sniped by the 3 pick. So perfect timing. Like this is my range of like really some of my favorite guys in the draft. And usually I feel like in others, these are guys that I'd be grabbing from 108 to 110.
Let's just talk about this a little bit because last year at 111, 112, 201, a lot of people were going Brooks, Benson, and Nix. And now Nix really panned out, and that was a great pick. But let's be honest, Kaleb Johnson, Cam Scattebo, and Devin Neal are all better than those guys. Like especially Kaleb Johnson. Kaleb Johnson at the 201 here is leaps and bounds above Trey Benson and Jonathan Brooks. I took Matthew Golden at 202. I am salivating to get the guy that goes 18th overall in the NFL draft to a team that just signed a quarterback in Sam Darnold, who's coming off 4,300 yards and 35 touchdowns as the wide receiver 2 and going to be the number 1 outside guy because JSN is going to dominate the slot. But like Golden to Seattle could be the wide receiver 1 year 1 in fantasy football for these guys. And that's just extreme value. Speaking of value, Cody, you and I were talking about this a little bit before. If you want to, we can let the draft keep going. We'll jump back into this, but tell everybody like how important it is to do mock drafts and the difference between a smash mock draft that you're setting up versus what they would do on a random sleeper draft or a random, a random setup.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think a lot of our Discord guys understand this, but maybe some of our listeners don't. Maybe some people that are not in the Patreon just yet understand it. This is reason 1,000 to join the Patreon. Like when you're on your sleeper league and you want to do a mock draft, you don't want to mock draft with your league mates. You don't want them to participate in that and see who you might be taking, who you might want. So you need to diversify, right? You want to be mocking with people that you're not competing against. And that's what we do here. So again, we've got, hundreds of different guys in the Discord, and we see a lot of the same faces because they love to participate and play and do these mocks with us. But every single mock draft, there's new people that we're in there with. So this is a great way to diversify. The other thing too is if you're just using the sleeper app to do it, it's going to be the same pick over and over and over. It's just going to default to the next ranking, whoever the ranking is. So doing it with live people gives you a much more realistic draft as far as what you can expect versus just going through the auto picks. So that's another reason you want to do it. But the last thing that I would say, maybe the most important, is think strategy. Let's say you're in 2 leagues, right? And for example, let's say in your first league, you got the 104, and in your second league, you got the 108 and maybe the 109. Like, when you come in with this, use that to your advantage. Let's jump in and get that 104 pick and see who lands here every time. It's kind of easy with like the first 5 picks, but when you start looking at that 204, though 304, or even having 2 picks later in the round, like you can use this to your advantage and kind of do it strategically to prepare yourself and get set up. So I've been doing that with my leagues, my Smash 10. I've got 4 first. Dynasty Dad, you know that. And so I've just been looking at all the different options. I'm like, all right, if I go this running back here, I can probably go ahead and get, both of them and then come back with another player. I don't want to say too much, but as far as just strategy and putting it all together, like, use these mocks to your advantage. That's what I'm kind of getting at there.
What the reason we've set this up and the reason we come out every single week and do this is we're giving you more pieces of the puzzle. As soon as we see the combine, as soon as free agency happens, as soon as these things happen, now all of a sudden it's like, okay, the Chargers landing spot, now that Najee's there, is a little bit different, right? And the offensive linemen going to different areas, like Minnesota signed Aaron Jones, but they beefed up that offensive line. So if one of these guys goes to Minnesota, they're going to get crazy draft stock. And it just gives you another piece of the puzzle. This one's interesting from Jaden Rodenball. Says, not scared to take Dart there. Best quarterback in the class. I literally debated it at 202. Like, I think he's the Bo Nix of this class. Like, if we can get him into that area, I think he went in right here at the 205, and I think that 203 to 205 is a great pocket window. Devin Neal, Trey Harris, I love getting these guys in this area, and we haven't even seen Scattebo go yet. So this is he just went at 207. So this mid-second is loaded. Last year, you got Purcell in there, you got Penix in there, but then we were stretching for Xavier Legette. We were stretching for some of these running backs like Blake Corum. The second round, middle second, really seems like another hotbed, Al, this year, where you can get Harris, Neal, Scattebo, and a lot of really talented players.
Yeah, I've been actively trying to acquire like the 202 to the 206 because I know in my leagues personally, like my home leagues as well, like people don't really care that much about this range when it comes to like known assets, depending on who you're playing with. So you can get these guys as throw-ins just by like tearing down from youth and stuff like that in most leagues, in my opinion. And when you actually look at these guys, like I said earlier, I would have been picking these guys in the 108 to 110 range in almost any other rookies. I do like this class just a lot. And, the fact that we have such a unique balance of RB and tight end class here in depth, honestly, it's going to push back some wide receivers that I would love, like Golden and Trey Harris. And Devin was just my guy. So I just love that range.
Cody, Andres accidentally picked Isaiah Bond. Can you actually change out the 206? That's just going to be like a wart on the whole draft board. He wanted to get Scattebo. Can you do that in there? Let's remove that pick and let him kind of go through there, because even people are going to turn in there. They'll be like, Isaiah Bond. All right, what's cooking here? What does he know that we don't know? Isaiah Bond is a straight up liar going with Matthew Smith with his typical Cam Ward going 101. I love it. He's super consistent with that. I love when you chime in there. That's always in there. My man, big cocked man 74 says, Jeanty, Johnson, Hampton. This is 2017 running backs all again. Welcome to the show, because that's what Snoog and I have been saying for months. Is this running back class is CMC, Kamara, Mixon, Aaron Jones, and you're going to get that. We told you in 2024 to build your teams around quarterbacks and wide receivers. 2025, I would not be shocked to see 5 running backs go in the first 7 picks of your Superflex drafts, which is just wild, rarefied air. So we got Jalen Knoll, Cam Scattebo, and Elic Io-Manor go here. This is the spot where I think, and I think you nailed it, Al, 206. So I believe Junty's in a tier of his own. I believe Hampton, Henderson, Hunter, McMillan, and Ward form that next tier for me. Like if Tyler Warren goes to the Dolphins, he's not in tier 2 for me. I think he moves down to that third value tier. So then I think 107 to about 201 feels like another zone. And then 202 to 206 is just a mess, an area that I'm like, I want to get in that 202 to 206. Then I think it falls off. Then we start talking about 207 to 212. We're talking about, are you going to take shots on some of these wide receivers? Are you going to take Jayden Higgins? Are you going to take Ollie Gordon? You're going to go Dylan Sampson. And before Tuten had a phenomenal combine. Before these guys get landing spots, I think 207 is a different tier for me. So if I'm sitting at 209 right now and I can throw you a veteran, I can get rid of a guy like 209 and then I throw you a veteran on my roster that I don't need. Like today I made a trade. I traded 209 and DeAndre Hopkins to get up to 205. And somebody's like, ew, that's gross. And I'm like,
Smash.
DeAndre Hopkins ain't going to do squat. Like he went veteran wide receivers go to the Ravens to die. And he looked horrible with the Chiefs last year. But maybe it's not Hopkins. Maybe you have to do a third round pick, or maybe you have to do, a running back that just got a better landing spot that you move into that area. But 202 to 206 seems really nice right now.
I think there's like a range of running back that I love doing that with this year. And it's like Brian Robinson, like Tony Pollard, even Tyrone Tracy. I'll just like go from the 206 to 111 and just give them Tyrone Tracy. Like that's like some of my favorite things to do.
Yeah. And you're utilizing, right? You're tiering up. What are you going to get for Tyrone Tracy, Isaiah Pacheco, Brian Robinson, Tony Pollard? What are you getting for them on the open market? Probably a mid to late second at best. And you're probably not. Well, I still think they still have a second, but if you can take them and you can use their value and add it to one of your mid seconds to get up to a late first, or you can use it to a late second to get up to an early second, I think that's the way to do it. And I love that kind of mentality. Jayden Higgins goes here. And then one of my favorite players, Cody, I love DJ Giddens. DJ Giddens going to the 210 here. Obviously we're done talking about guys that got drafted in this mock, but he flashed at the combine, super athletic. I think he's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, no, me too. I like the pick here, and I took Higgins right there, right before that. But to me, this whole spot, I'm trading out. Like the people that we're seeing here, if I can get a 26 second, a random, and maybe a third, and go from there, I'm probably going to do that or trade back. Like you guys said, I think that 205, 207, there's a tier break, and it's a huge one after that. Like these guys, there is some upside with them, but I like resetting here, re-rolling, and maybe trying to get maybe a third in the next round as a dart, but to get a 26 second out of that pick. But how about this next guy? I've seen a lot of hype on this one. I've seen a lot of hype on Sampson. What do you think about that pick?
So personally, I'm thinking slightly different than you. And I know I know your draft style. I wish I was in Smash Accept 10. Smash Accept 18 starts next week. I'm in 17 of the damn 18. I don't know why I let that one slip through. But I'm actually taking – this class is deeper than 2026. So if I'm a contender and I'm in that I know it's going to be 210 to 212, I will trade my 26 second any day to get in here and get Dylan Sampson. I think Dylan Sampson has a ton of upside. I don't think when this draft is all said and done, he belongs in that same area where, Io Manor goes, maybe even Jalen Knoll, who I love a lot. But I mean, him and Harold Fannin Jr. Fannin Jr. is going to be the biggest boom bust prospect that we see here, but he could be a monster tight end, and we see one of the major tight end landing spots just got a little bit less desirable because Evan Ingram is there, but I love that signing. Like, what are you paying right now in Dynasty for Evan Ingram? I'm trying to buy now, and it's a little bit too late. I've been kicking the tires the entire offseason because I knew he was going to go somewhere desirable. Then he goes to the Broncos. You can't get too much better.
Oh, you don't think it gets done for like a mid to late second right now? Because a lot, I do still think that it can get done, but no, I know I would buy, but it crushes me because that was one of my favorite tight end landing spots for sure. And I really wanted to see Colston Loveland land there.
Yeah, I know.
Prospect. He still could, honestly. I mean, it's not like they're just going to ignore the position for the future. It's still Evan Ingram, but they did give him a chunk of money that I didn't think they were going to. But with the tight ends, I love that Harold Fannin pick. I just think it's one of the weirdest reactions to the combine that I remember. People were expecting him to run like a 4.5 or something, and that's just insane. When I watch him, I didn't expect that whatsoever. I just didn't want him to like fall off a cliff, and I feel like it's being perceived that way, but I wasn't expecting him to be like a speed demon in the 40. I don't think that's the way that he wins. So I'll take the dip on him all day. And I feel like in a couple of these that I've been in with you guys, I've been grabbing him right around this third range.
Yeah, and I think that's when we did our tight end special, we were talking about him being in that 204 range. Now he's slipping all the way to 212. This pick here, Ollie, this is running back alley. This is where, and I know you were talking about, Cody, about trying to trade out of that late second. If I could trade out of that late second and get into this early third, Ollie Gordon, I took Tuten at 302. I keep getting him everywhere. I think he's going to get day 2 draft capital after the combine. RJ Harvey, love him. And then Damian Martinez at 3.4. Hell, let's go Taj Brooks at 3.5. Just load up on these running backs. The whole third round should be running backs. It's beautiful.
These guys are smart. They've learned a lot. As we've done this, they've learned like the third round. Go get that running back. Get somebody that could shoot up into a starter role with an injury, and then you can turn around and flip them if you want. You can turn around and get a pick for him if you want. You can move it for a veteran that you could use in your lineup. I mean, this is real. Look at this. I mean, there goes
Breshard Smith.
He's
one of my favorites here too.
Yeah, a lot of upside there.
Al, you've dug into this class. I mean, which one of these guys from I don't think Gordon belongs here, but from 302 to 306, which one of these running backs are you highest on and why?
I actually really was happy to grab Damian Martinez at 3.4. I have him in the second round of my rankings, right at the end of it. So he's like my RB10 right now. And I know I've said this on Twitter so many times, but ranking this class makes me so sick. Like, I don't want to put a number to these guys because I think any one of them from like after Judkins, after Kaleb Johnson, I think any one of them from like 7 to like 15 is just like a range for me that I hate putting a number to. And those guys that we just saw are such great values because of that.
What drives me nuts though is when and that's why I really try to do it like this is 24 versus 25 or 23 versus 24 and 25. You could say that we're talking about the running back 15 of the class, but this class is 15 deep. Like there are guys, Ollie Gordon is better than Trey Benson. Like Ollie Gordon like has the upside and he's going 301 as opposed to last year we were trying to push Benson into the late first. Tuten, Harvey, I love Martinez, Brooks, Smith. I mean these guys, and then you're getting Scattebo at 2.7 and he was one of the best receiving backs, absolute dominant runner. You know, like he was phenomenal last year. Devin Neal falls to 2.3. He's one of my favorite running backs in this entire process. Now, I mean, then Giddens at Samson. I mean, I think you're going to get running backs from that whole second and third round. By the time the NFL draft is said and done, those guys are going to push up boards. The other strength of this class, Cody, you and I have talked a lot about, but I mean, you're getting Aroyyo, Terrence Ferguson. We haven't seen Mason Taylor go yet. The tight ends in round 3 are going to actually be guys that are, you know, they're going to be pan out better than what we wanted from Ben Sinnott, which I think I still hold out hope he's on that Trey McBride curve where I didn't mean to say curse, but you know, he just needs Zach Ertz to get traded 7 games in so he can do the same exact thing. But now Mason Taylor goes here. Tight ends are really strong in this class.
Yeah, they are. I like Taylor. I like him a lot more than some of these other guys. I think that he might have shot up to tight end 3 after his combine performance. But he's another guy that, if he gets a shot, depending on where he goes. I kind of like all these picks here. I don't know if you're looking at this, but if at late third, if I'm able to get Milroe, that's where I'm doing it. Because there's spots if he and I know that a lot of people aren't on him, and that's totally fine. I'm a Carolina Gamecock fan. I watched the South Carolina Alabama game. He was terrible, trust me. But at the end of the day, the guy can run, and if he goes somewhere where he can land the backup job and have some stability there to just sit, watch, listen, and then if there's a chance to start, if he becomes a starter, even if it's a 1 game, 2 game, 3 game sample size due to an injury. I mean, he's going to have trade potential there. You're going to be able to move him for a pick. And again, this is late third. If we can use that and flip that into a second round pick next year in a super flex league, I mean, that's a win. That's something you want to do. So I like Milroe there. I'm probably going to be trying to target him in a lot of my late or even mid-third picks, to be honest with you.
Hey, Dion from the Discord said, thanks for another great mock. Appreciate you stopping by, Calo. It was great having you on. Just gave you his follow on Twitter. What's really cool about this with Jalen Milroe, and I keep saying he's not Jalen Hurts, but he's a Jalen Hurts light. And every single, you guys know, as an Eagles fan, I took Jalen Hurts at the 212 on about 10 of my smash contenders that were championship teams. And damn, did that pay off, And if you talk about getting him here at 309, there's no player with more upside at that particular time there.
Right.
Al, I mean, it was great.
To the Saints. Let's get into the Saints. Sit behind Derek Carr with Kellen Moore, who just coached Jalen Hurts. Then next year, they want to save a bunch of money. Just roll Jalen Milroe for a year or two, upside through the roof. And that's when you Dynasty, but that would be worth a third-round pick for sure.
Yeah, thank you for jumping on. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on Twitter? Because we first hooked up on Twitter where you and I were, I was retweeting some of your stuff because I thought it was really sharp, and you were interacting on mine, and it was great to meet you face to face. Another Eagles fan, another guy to really sharpen things up in the Smash Accept Patreon. So I appreciate everything you're doing in there. The what you're bringing to the community as well. So tell everybody where they can find you on Twitter.
No, I appreciate it. I feel like the time flies, obviously, with the NFL season, but I feel like we connected like 4 years ago now at this point. But watching you guys grow has been really cool, and interacting, seeing all your work. And that's why I thought the Discord was cool, because we have thought like for years when we chopped it up and talked about football and about Dynasty. So it's really cool to see got so many guys, thinking the same way as you and Snook have for a while. So glad to be following, follow me on Twitter at Calo _FF. Really just doing a bunch of stuff on there. I'm really just a guy on Twitter. I really put all my thoughts, my content, and that's why I like Twitter, because I just have so much to say. I'm a talker, and I can just say it all right on there. So give me a follow on there, and I'll just plug anything, plug you guys, and keep up the good work. Really appreciate you guys having me. It was a blast.
Yeah, it's a hashtag DynastyDad approved follow. Make sure you guys follow him. And Scarface, this was another great mock. I appreciated having you on. The insight that you have setting these up. It's been a great process. I've absolutely loved what you've done in the Discord with the setting all these up and what you're bringing onto the show. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I just appreciate being on the show with you guys, and I love these mocks. I already had somebody reach out to me saying, "Hey, can we do another one after this?" So it's a good time.
Yeah, and I can't say his name again, but he's saying, "Hey, let's go with 4 rounds there." Hey, next week maybe we do 4 rounds, because guys are really trying to get more of these. They want more of these mock drafts. They want more of these trade shows. Help us out. We just hit 3,000 on the subscribers on YouTube. That has really come about quickly. We went from having 400 by the time the season ended to now 3,000 to going into 2025. And, Snook and I are putting out content all the time. Brock's doing edits for us. These guys are doing sharp things. So thanks again for tuning in, guys, and enjoy the process.